Now our game is doing a nice job of keeping track of which level we're at, but if we restart a level or go to a new level, we have this problem that our score and our health completely reset. So it would be nice if our game state script was also able to keep track of our score and our health. This is going to be a big change in our game. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my score variable and my health variable and my keys variable, because we want to keep track of those as well, which means also the key icons list, all into my new game state script. So all four of those things that previously were on one player are now moving into the game state script, because we lose our player when we change levels and we get a new player. And in fact, we lose our player when we enter and exit the car. So currently, keys acts really awkwardly when we enter and exit our car, and recording it in one central location is going to fix that. So now we could go through all of our other scripts and we could update body.score and player.score and just score inside the player and the car scripts to all say gamestate.score and gamestate.health, and it means our score and our health and our keys would all persist as we change levels and as we step in and out of the car. But there's one other thing that I want to fix at the same time, because right now any code that updates our score or our health needs this hard-coded reference to /root/main/canvas layer, and it's relying on the canvas layer being in that really precise spot in our tree so that it can also update the score label and the health label. And what would be really nice is if we could do all of those updates in this one central location from our game state script. It's currently going to be quite hard to access the canvas layer from our game state script because the canvas layer is another thing that gets deleted between scenes and we get a new canvas layer. So to fix this, we're going to change the canvas layer into its own scene, and we're going to auto load that scene just like we did with the game state script so that it will be available in all of our levels. We only need to do that with the score label and health label part of the canvas layer. So I'm also going to be moving crosshair to just the player and moving the vehicle HUD to just the car. It's quite a big change, but everything's going to be so much tidier when we're finished. And if I knew how much tidier this approach was going to be, I would have done it right from the very start. So first, let's take a copy of our canvas layer with Control C. I'm going to move to my car and Control V, get a copy of that canvas layer, although I won't need the score label, so I'll delete that, and I'll delete the health label, and I'll delete the crosshair, and I'll just have vehicle HUD on the car. Then I'm also going to copy into player, and again I won't need a score label, and I won't need health label, and I won't need vehicle HUD. So what I should end up with is on my player I've got a canvas layer with just a crosshair. On my car I've got a canvas layer with just the vehicle HUD, and then in either of my main scenes I'm going to delete crosshair and I'm going to delete vehicle HUD, so I end up with a new canvas layer that's got just the score label and the health label and nothing else. Then I'm going to right click on that canvas layer and save branch as scene, and we can save it as canvas layer. Now that I've saved my canvas layer as its own scene, I should be able to auto-load it. So I'll go back to Project Settings, go to the Globals tab, and then just like I auto-loaded the game state script, I can click this folder icon to auto-load my canvas layer scene. I'll click Open, I'll click Add, and you'll see that this canvas layer scene is now going to be auto-loaded for every scene in my game, and it's going to be given the name Global Canvas Layer. Now that we've got this global canvas layer loaded, we won't need this canvas layer in level 2, so I can delete that copy of my scene. And I can also go to my other level, and I can delete this canvas layer as well. That one's gone. And if I play the game, we should see that I can still see score and health in the top corner because the global canvas layer has loaded on every level. Now we're ready to add the new code into our game state script that's going to update that global canvas layer every frame, which means it's going to go into this process function. Let's just remove the ready function. In process, I'm going to get my global canvas layer, and then I want a reference to the score label, which I can do by writing get node score label. And then it's the same as how we'd usually set the score label. I write .text and I set it to score plus string score. Then I'll do the same thing with the health label. Global canvas layer dot get node health label dot text. I'm going to set it to health. And if you remember, for the health, sometimes we can have a fraction of health. So this one's going to be string snapped health to the nearest 1. I should end up with a pair of brackets there at the end of that line. So this should now be the only place in our entire code when we need to update the score label or the health label. Now, every single frame in the entire game, this game state script is going to be loaded, and it's going to get those two nodes and set it to whatever the score and health variables here have got in them. Now all that remains is the extremely fiddly business of going through every single script that we've written and updating score and health and keys and any reference to the canvas layer to use this new version that we've put in place. I'm going to start with the most fiddly changes. One is on our key script. Instead of adding a child to this canvas layer that no longer exists, we can simply add a child to the global canvas layer, and we no longer need this reference to canvas layer. Then I'm going to go to the car script, and I no longer need any reference to the crosshair at all, because the crosshair will now only show up when we have a player in the game. But I will still need a reference to the vehicle HUD. I'll just update that reference because now it's relative to my car, so it will be $canvas layer / vehicle HUD. And I'll go down to the parts where I hide and show that crosshair. That will be in enter and exit. Crosshair.hide can go. Crosshair.show can go. I'll save that, and I can leave vehicle HUD show and hide because we still don't want that showing up just because our car is in the game. We only want it showing up when we're inside the car. The speed label and speedometer have also moved position. They're not in root anymore, they're just in canvas layer. Alright, canvas layer for the speed label and canvas layer for the needle. And now all the remaining updates are to do with the words score, health, and keys. So I'm going to use a cool, useful feature in Godot, which is Control-Shift-F to find in every single one of the scripts that I've got open. And I'm going to start by searching for the word score, and click Find, and I should have this search results panel pop up that shows me every single time in all of my open scripts when I've used the word score. Let's start with player.gd. I can delete this score because we're using the game state score now. Now I'll go to goal.gd. I can delete my reference to score label because we're using the global canvas layer score label. And then here, instead of updating player.score, I can update game state.score. And I don't need to update the score label at all. And in fact, while we're here, we no longer need to check if the player exists or not, because we can update the score even if there's no player. So I can get rid of this line that says if player, and we'll just always update the GameState.score by 10 every time the ball enters the goal. Then I'll refresh these search results to get rid of goal and player, and I'll go to GameState.score. None of these need to change because that's my new score script. I'll go to coin.score, and I see there's a reference to score label that I no longer need, so I'll get rid of that. I'm changing body.score, so I'll now change that so it changes GameState.score, and I'll delete the line that updates the score text. I'll refresh that, and I'll see that there's now only one GameState.score line in coin.gd. Now I'll go to chest. Same kind of thing happening in chest. I no longer need a reference to score label. I can click the next line in these search results, and I see I'm updating body.score. Instead, I want to update GameState.score. I can delete the line to the score label. And as I click through the rest of chest.gd, I see that that's all of the references to score taken care of in chest. Now I'll go to car. It's also got its own score variable that I can delete, so I'll delete that. It's got all this stuff about saving a new score, which I no longer actually need at all for score. My score is just going to be reflected by GameState.score, so I don't need that line in enter to save the score over to the car. I'll do the same with our next copy of that and exit. I don't need to re-put the score back onto the player because it's just going to persist in the game state. And that is all the car done as well for score. Now we're up to bullet by the looks of it. Bullet also has got a reference to score label that I no longer need. Player.score doesn't need to be updated. We want to update GameState.score. We don't need to update the text at all. What else have we got in bullet? Let's refresh these results again. And that's the only reference to GameState.score. So we're done updating the score, and we can Control-Shift-F again and search for health. And go to the top of the player script, delete this health variable. We can delete our reference to the health label. No longer need that. We'll go to health minus equals delta, and we'll change this to GameState.health minus equals delta. We don't need to update the health label. We'll check that our GameState.health has dropped below 0. Let's refresh this. And those are the only two lines in player.gd referencing the health. I'll go to the mine script. We no longer need a reference to health label. I'll go to where we update player.health, and we'll change this to GameState.health. We don't need to update the health label. How's our mine script going? Again, that's the only reference to health. We'll go to health.gd. We don't need a reference to the health label. And when we update body.health, we'll be updating GameState.health instead. That one there needs to also be GameState.health. And we no longer need to update the text on the label. We'll refresh this again. And I missed one reference there to body.health. So I'm going to change this one as well to GameState.health is less than 100. Now we're done with the health.gd. We can leave GameState.gd alone. We're going to go to fox.gd. That's got a reference to the health label that we don't need. And it's got a time when it's updating the player health, which now will be updating GameState.health. We don't need to update the text. And we are done with fox.gd. Now we can go to the car. Again, the car doesn't need a reference to health label. It doesn't need its own health variable, so we'll remove that. We'll deal with this player health variable in a second. We're actually going to keep that one around. But when we subtract health when we're burning, we can instead subtract GameState.health, and we don't need to update the health label. We're going to check here that GameState.health has gone below 0. And our smoke amount ratio is now going to be determined by GameState.health over 100. Refresh that on the car. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated because we probably do want our car to have separate health to our player. So we're going to keep this part where we store our player's old health, and then we're going to change this to check the GameState.health, and we're going to set our current GameState.health back to 100. That's sort of slightly new bit there. Then when we exit, we'll go to our exit function where we set the player health. We are going to reset the GameState.health to the player health that we saved earlier and don't need to update the label. So that's our sort of quick fix there for the car script. Everything now should be nicely dealing with health. That all looks good. And we don't need to make any more changes about health now either. So let's Control-Shift-F again and search for keys. We can get rid of our keys and key icons variable on the player. In key.gd, we can now update GameState.keys. We'll leave all this key icon stuff in here because it's nicely adding a child to our canvas layer, but instead of body.keyIcons, we're going to use GameState.keyIcons. And a spot in there as well, we've got another reference to body.keys, which we wanted to change to GameState.keys. That should be it for the key script. Then I'll go to GameState.keys and we can leave that one be. I'll go to door, which is referencing body.keys. That can now be GameState.keys and GameState.keyIcons. Got a check here for if body.keys is greater than 0, which can now be a check for if GameState.keys is greater than 0. Now I'll go to the chest script and do the same thing. I'm going to update GameState.keys and GameState.keyIcons, and then when I check if body.keys is greater than 0, I'm going to check if GameState.keys is greater than 0 instead. And in fact, it looks like we no longer need to pass body to either of these open functions, so I can actually delete the body variable from my chest script and from my door script, and then I can go to player, and when I call target.open, I don't need to pass it self anymore. And now, if we've done everything properly, there should be almost no references at all to /root/main anywhere across all of our scripts, because none of them need to access that canvas layer any longer. There should only be one reference left to /root/main, and I'm going to check that that's the case by doing Control-Shift-F one final time, searching for /root, and I should see nothing in these search results except for the reference to my audio stream player, which is the only time right now that any of my nodes need to check for something outside of themselves. So let's tidy this up as well while we're at it by moving this audio stream player to the only place that's accessible all the time in our game, which is that new canvas layer we've created. I'm going to go back to my 2D scene view, open my canvas layer scene, and then I'm going to go to the coins node in one of my scenes. I'm going to grab this audio stream player and copy it from there, paste it into my global canvas layer. Then I can delete it from both of my levels. So it's deleted from level 1, go to level 2. I will delete it from level 2 as well. And now I've got this new audio stream player that should still be set to the coin sound in my canvas layer, which means I can go to my final two search results in my script, make this full screen again, and we'll change this reference in both the health script and the coin script to be global canvas layer dot get node audio stream player. I'm going to copy that same piece of code there into the coin script. And now there are no references to /root/main anywhere in all of my code. It's much tidier. It never needs to rely on any other part of the tree, which means I can actually drop any of my objects into any place in any level, and they're not going to have any troubles finding the things that they need in order to update stuff. So are we finally done fixing everything? Well, almost. We can now get a score in level 1 and lose a bit of health in level 1. And then if I take this to level 2, I'll take that score and that health with me, which is awesome. But something weird happens if I die at the moment. My health has dropped to 0, and I never get it back because that health is now global and it doesn't reset when I reset the level. So I'm going to press Alt F4 to get out of that permanently resetting game because my health has hit 0. And I'm going to go to my player script where my health drops below 0. And I'm going to reset my health back to 100 by changing GameState.health to 100 when my health drops below 0. And I want to do this same thing in my car script. Car, when my health drops below 0, then I want to reset my GameState.health back to 100. I've decided not to reset my health when I fall off the map or when I change levels, but you could reset your health at those points as well. I've opted to only reset my health when I really need to because I've lost it all. This should all be working great now, although you can now farm keys by dying and collecting the same key over and over again. So if that's something that bothers you, then in the game state, when we restart a level, you can set the keys back to being 0. But just remember that if you do this, you'll also have to delete all of the key icons in the key icon list, which we can do with for icon in key icons. We do icon.queueFree. That will delete all of those icons in our key icon list, but it won't actually clear the list and set it back to an empty list. So we're also going to run key icons.clear, and that will clear out that list so we can get a new set of keys just started from scratch every time we restart the level. The final little bug fix I discovered as I was testing all of this out, which is not related to anything we've done in the whole video at all, but in the player script, as I open a target, I should also have been writing target equals null afterwards, so that we're not able to try to open the same chest again and again, which will throw an error if we've run out of keys. If you made it through all of those changes, then congratulations, you've now got much cleaner scripts and also a perfect system for persistence, score and health.